Still trying to throw the ball. On first and goal, second and goal. Panicking at third. Fourth, I'm wishing for a muff.
Welcome to the 510 Huddle podcast. It's your boy, Coach D Lane, and today we got a special guest in the building, a town legend, man. My guy, my good friend, Akintunde Ahmad. How you doing today, baby?
Man, I'm good, bro. It's good to see y'all. I know I just randomly seen you in traffic the other day, too.
Yeah. First time we seen each other in a minute, you pull up on me by the crib. That's crazy. What you was doing over there, man? What you was doing in Alameda?
We was actually hooping.
Okay.
This little hoop court over there that we be going to sometimes.
See, you gotta shoot. You gotta let me know, man. We can get it in. You already know.
Good. Next time I got you for sure.
It's good. Got my co-host in the building with me, my guy, Coach Zay. How you feeling today, Zay?
I'm doing great. I gotta ask y'all because I know y'all both play baseball. Who's better before we get this started?
Oh, that ain't even no question, bro. It's Tunde. I don't even know why you asking me. I was a baseball player.
Yeah, hey, D-Lane
talking. Football player who came to the baseball field though.
Yeah.
Okay, got you a little bit of respect.
I hit a homer though that year. I like tied in home runs that year. You remember too? I broke a bat. I broke one of Coach Gordon's bats.
I do remember.
It was hot.
The step.
Yeah. I'm telling you, bro, I was hit or miss, eh? I told you I was either slapping some or I was striking out. No in between.
It used to be one of those players that get hella mad when we strike out, huh?
Yeah.
Hey,
well, Tunde, you play infield, right?
Yep, I played middle infield, and then when I got to my senior year, and then the 1 year that I played for part of college, I was playing outfield, center field, left field.
You didn't pitch for us? You couldn't pitch?
I was pitching and everything, too, when we was younger, too. I pitched a little bit in high school, too, but by the time I was, like, junior season.
How many siblings you got? Because then one of your brothers played, too? Or your brother played?
My brothers played.
Okay, and one of them was a pitcher protect, right? Or no?
Yeah. My brother Zim, who's left-handed, pitched, and then my other brother, Inde, he pitched, too, but he played middle infield mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. What made you stop playing in college?
Man, so let's see, senior year, I actually had like ruptured my quad, my senior year of high school. So junior year, I actually was MVP of the league. Senior year, I was coming off a summer of getting recruitment and stuff. I had like some D3 offers and stuff, no like D1s or nothing. But my senior year, like the preseason before the normal season really even started, messed up my quad and missed the rest of the season. So then when I got to school, I came on to Yale as like a recruited walk-on. Yep. So they had like my highlights and stuff for my junior year and the beginning of my senior year. I got into the school purely on academics before athletics even came into a question. And then, but I just wanted to keep playing. Coach seen my highlights and he was like, okay, like we don't even have to pull any strings to get you here. You're already here. So it's cool. When we get here, first day I'm working out with everybody else. But in the fall, it was a combination of things. Fall season, I partially tore my quad and then messed up the other one. And so it was just
no joke. Quad's no joke, Tunde. I got a knot in mine still from a strained quad I had in college.
Exactly. And you feel it too. I know you feel it sometimes still. Same thing on my end. So that was part of it. But then it was other stuff, just the amount of time that I was spending from, it was morning workouts, team breakfast. We had classes almost all together because our schedule had to fit into that little window, to evening workouts and then weekend works out. But I was the only black dude on the team also. Yeah. And so spending that much time with folks, it wasn't even so much about being the only black dude, but it was just culturally, it wasn't really a lot of folks that I could relate to. Because baseball, I was used to playing with a whole bunch of different people, but it was just like day in and day out, spending that much time when you also got that added rehab after every practice. And I got a heating stem before, ice stem after. It just wasn't really worth it to me. It was too many other things that was going on in life for me to really give it my dedication and stuff. So I was like, I'm cool.
I think that was a mature decision, though, to focus on your future, what you're doing. I think it's hard for a lot of athletes, especially when, all you know is kind of a sport your whole life, to take that step away. Like, hey, it's doing too much. Let me focus on school. I'm at a top school, one of the top schools in the world, and do what I do. So thank you for sharing.
I forgot to say in the beginning for Tunde's intro, guys, not only is my guy a former athlete, that he's our first person on the podcast in the media space and journalism as well. And my brother got 2 degrees, man, from 2 top colleges in the world, shit. But before we even jump to that, Tunde, I know both your parents was in education, correct?
Just my mom. Just my mom.
Just your mom. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember your dad was a cool brother too, though.
Yeah.
But obviously, I seen it young. I seen it young when I was your teammate. That I just could tell education was like a big part in your household. How did you carry that through to get to Tech? Obviously, you finished with amazing honors at Tech, and then you get to Yale. How did you carry that on? I mean, discipline from being so young, because you had it when you was young, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm the youngest. I'm actually the youngest out of 6. A lot of people don't know. I got 5 older siblings. I got 4 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay, I knew you had a sister. I knew you had like 2 brothers. I didn't know you had.
My oldest 2 brothers grew up in Texarkana, Texas. That's a whole nother story. They was football stars at Texas High and all that type of stuff. So, but just having older brothers and learning what they did right and what they did wrong, and being able to see like a lot of decisions that a lot of folks had to learn themselves, being from where we're from. Like, I didn't necessarily have to do that because I got to see lessons that they had to learn the hard way and knew. I'm like, all right, I can already see how stuff is turning out. Because my oldest brother, 14 years older than me. So, when I'm 10 years old, he's 24, I could tell what's done right and what's done wrong, because that's how old I am now. So that's part of it. And then, like you said, my mom being an educator, she was a teacher, a kindergarten teacher for the Oakland Public School District for like 20 or so years. And then she became a principal of the Oakland Public School also in like around the time when I was in like 8th grade or so, going to high school. And so she's been a principal there for about 10, 11 years. So from her side, it was just her being an educator. She know how to get us on the right path when we were little. Because that's the thing about education too. It's like, it's building blocks from the time you're young. At the end of the day, if you don't have that strong foundation and have a strong, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade to build on, then you're going to always be trying to play catch up, and it gets harder as you go along. And then for my pop's side, my pop's actually, he worked for AC Transit. So he's a mechanic there working on buses, company cars and stuff. And that's why car culture and stuff is in my family. But so, yeah, that's what they was doing. But I guess having a good foundation, a lot of people ask, like, if you didn't know my grades or you didn't know that, you wouldn't really know that I was doing that well in school. You know what I mean? Because most folks knew me from sports like you. It was playing baseball, playing basketball, or just being around. And so,
sure, but I peeped when we was younger, Tunde. I peeped, like, I was like, bro, a little different intellectually, yo, for real, like real talk. Yeah. I was just a straight athlete, and then when I got around you, I was like, okay, this is a smart, sharp brother right here, man. Just when we was youngsters.
And I think, I don't know, but it was just kind of always being intentional about everything I was doing. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was younger, but I knew me being a good student and doing well in school for the sake of just learning how those foundational elements was going to make it easier for me later on in life. So I was always kind of going into things like that. Reading a lot, just reading books on my own, not stuff that I was assigned in school, but just anything that.
I'm happy you just said that, Tunde. I had it as a question later, but I'm gonna ask you right now since you just brought it up. What's one book that you think that you recommend to our people that you feel like all Black people should read? If you can think of one off the top of your head.
It's a lot, I guess. The autobiography of Malcolm X for sure is one. I've been reading a lot of stuff, so some stuff maybe because I just read it, but I just read the memoir, Dapper Dan's memoir. I know he kind of came in the spotlight recently because he.
You said Dapper Dan?
Dapper Dan.
I know.
His memoir was good because it's just he's 80 years old, almost 80 years old. He just got so much history and everything that he's been through, and he just talked about the Black experience in America a lot. His other book, The Short and Tragic Life of Robert Peace, is actually about this dude who was from New Jersey, went to Yale and graduated, but was always kind of one foot in the streets, one foot out. And he actually ended up getting murdered like 6 or so years after he had graduated Yale, and everybody was like, how does a Yale grad, a young black dude who had all this promise and stuff in front of him, end up getting murdered in cold blood over a robbery gone wrong, or somebody trying to rob. I ain't gonna give up the book, but y'all should just.
I ain't gonna spill it all.
Yeah, I ain't gonna spill it at all. It's the short and tragic life of Robert P. So you know what happens in the end, but that was a good one. And then I could send a book list to because I got a whole bunch of stuff. You see right here, I got books on books right here. I got books down there for my stuff. Like I got a lot.
D-Lane
been in my house. I read, so I need that book list.
I used to read a lot. I've been trying more lately. I forgot what's the last one I just finished. It was somewhere around here. Dave. Go ahead.
Have you read Between the World and Me?
Yeah.
Coach, right? By Coach.
The way it was written too. Oh man.
Exactly. I like his work. I got his fiction book right here, The Water Dancer. I haven't got to reading that one yet. But
okay. His style is so unique.
Definitely.
That's dope. Yeah, we gotta get more on the books. I think, like you said, I think it starts young, and I think it's the ability to learn. Like once you learn that, I think you can do anything when it comes to school. But I think a lot of people lack the skills of knowing how to learn. Everyone can learn, but you got to know how. And it starts with the books. It starts young.
My mom's motto too, her being an elementary school principal now, but just educator period, is up until the 3rd grade, you learn to read, but after 3rd grade, you're supposed to be reading to learn. And so those first years of, really becoming literate and understanding this and getting invested in reading is crucial, because after you're 8, 9 years old, now you got to have that skill in order to take your own self to the next level. So.
Oh, yeah.
The last one I read was the 4 Agreements. That's what it was. It was the 4 Agreements.
Got you.
I don't think I finished it. It was one before that.
Hey, we need to start dropping a book on every episode. And
definitely.
Put some more our listeners to read more, or at least do the audio books.
Tunde, tell me, how was that transition coming from Oakland, man? Coming from Oakland, stepping foot on the campus of Yale. Like, how was that? What was that like?
Man, it's so many things to get into. So if it's anything that I say that you want to go down that rabbit hole, we can. But really, on one hand, Yale was kind of what a lot of people would expect. It's obviously it's a school that's majority white. It's a lot of folks who come from a lot of wealth. It's a lot of folks who come from, in California, we don't really have it like this, but over there where they have the prep schools and the boarding schools and this like East Coast elite feeder schools, like I didn't realize you meet so many people who all came from the same schools, like Andover and Exeter and Choate was just kind of feed into this. And they've been going there since middle school, or before that, they was going into the feeder schools to go there. So it just kind of exposed you to this whole other world of privilege and this pipeline that's really grooming students to be prepared to just be on this campus already. And for them, it's a seamless transition. For me, coming from only Oakland public schools and then getting dropped into that, obviously it was an adjustment period. Being from Oakland and being from a place where, and just, engaged in activities where I had to interact with a whole bunch of people, the social adjustment, I was able to, just find the people who I was cool with and get along with people. It's just, something I'm just used to doing. So it wasn't that hard, but it's more so, you just kind of learn a lot more about how the world works. Like, now that I'm even older, we 24, about to be 25 this coming year, but it's like, I see people who went to these feeder schools, went to all these prep schools. They are 4th generation, 5th generation Yale student, 4th, 5th generation Harvard in their lineage. And then they go straight from Yale to a top law school and then go straight into politics, having never really understood the real world and how people are living, how our most vulnerable folks are living. Like, they never know what it's going to be like to be poor. They haven't really interacted with that many. The most Black and brown people they interact with is on campus at Yale, probably, because Yale statistics is a little more diverse than the high schools sometimes that they come from, or these prep schools. So, it just opened my eyes to a lot of things. This is all speaking in retrospect, but just stepping on the campus and seeing it, this is like, that was my mindset. I'm like, I know what it's going to be like already to an extent, so I'm not even going to let that phase me. I just want to observe, meet as many people as I can, because at the end of the day, something to be learned from everybody, even if it's somebody who you may not like or may not kick it with in the long run. You're just gonna learn something about the world from them. So that's kind of how I went about it.
That's dope though. And at your time at Yale, you know, you're in multiple media outlets such, you know, Huffington Post, on the Ellen Show. I believe you had an article in Forbes as well, right? How was all that getting that attention, and at the same time having to balance, you know, school and being at a top university?
I mean, on one hand, it was I kind of took it in stride because it was one of those things where the media doesn't portray folks that look like us in a positive light at all. And so I was actually having this conversation the other day for this project I'm working on. But it's like states like Idaho, 90% white. Like the whole state is 90% white. So if you think about that and you think about what does somebody from there who more likely than not doesn't interact with folks that look like us, the only understanding of us is going to come through the media. So they're only seeing us in the space of athletes, entertainment, or seeing us on news media, which is overwhelmingly negative, then what are they going to think of us? So I was really, you know, it creates a pressure because some people want to size up to you and like, oh, he must think he's all that because he was on these things, or you're not special, you got this, but I went to this school and it was hard. And I didn't really care because I'm not there to compete with anybody at all. Like I'm there to learn, to soak it all up, to make these social connections and then help folks from where I'm from. Like other folks is there trying to climb this social ladder and get to whatever they were trying to get to. It really isn't like it shouldn't be a competitive environment. And so, right, I embraced it, but also I think later on and just currently one of the things I'm kind of working on and been writing about is getting people to understand why is it that a Black kid from Oakland, from the public schools, who goes to an Ivy League school is newsworthy in the first place. Because all of these kids, of course, they weren't on the news like that because this is what you were expected to do. You went to this top prep school, you're fourth generation Yale, or you got all these resources dumped into you, and this is what's expected of you. And the same can be for us if we have all these resources and you know what I'm saying, and things aimed at getting us there, but we don't. Like it's more money going to policing in our cities than it is to education. So what do you think the outcome is going to be for us? Like it's as simple as that. And so,
Tunde, do you think do you agree with Cap as far as do you think we need to abolish the police system?
So the thing about that too is that before I answer this, I was going to say a lot of people when they hear that question and the response to this, they think that folks automatically mean you abolish the police and then there's no police. Like if you call 911, nobody's going to answer. And then you stuck to fend for yourself. And when folks are saying that, I just want to, and I'm just saying it for anybody who listening who may not know. It's like when folks are saying abolish the police, a lot of times they're not actually meaning do away, you know what I'm saying, fully.
Just completely eradicate them.
Right, but it's like, okay, look, right now there's one number to call for people, you know, like everybody calls 911 if somebody having a mental health breakdown, if it's a domestic dispute, if it's a kid who is supposed to be in school but is out there and the police handle all of this stuff. And so for me, it's about we need to abolish the police handling all of these type of issues because they aren't trained to handle this type of stuff. They have a quick little training about how to handle mental health. They got a quick little training about this. And then they thrust them out there and then they don't even know what to do when it comes there. They don't have the training to say, oh, this is a mental health crisis. I don't got to meet this person with force or shoot them. All of these things. And so I do agree with it in that, look, there's no need for them to always be here. And I also believe, I mean, I'm working on a whole like thing about the police right now. This whole media piece that I'm working on right now is about this. And so it's like a lot through there. But overall, I'm saying I agree with that statement. Yes. But you got to understand, like, I'm saying that, like, how do we replace it and how do we still deal with the issues that are in our community? It still needs to be a system in place where somebody needs to call the police or however we reimagine what they are, then they can. It just has to be the right type of people who respond.
Man, thank you for breaking that down. I think a lot of people from all different type of communities don't really understand what that means. You know, some people like, yeah, like get rid of the police completely. And like you said, I think it's all about breaking up different, you know, maybe adding different departments for different issues instead of having that one number. I saw something that it was actually on LinkedIn. America has 18,000 different agencies. So we have 18,000 different police departments that police a different way. The second most in the world is China. They have 60 different policing agencies. So it's crazy. Like a country with 1 billion people only has 60 different ways to police in their whole country. We have 18,000. So it just shows you how deep-rooted this issue is.
Definitely.
I think another major problem is when they're policing communities that they're not from and don't understand our people as well. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that was what was so big about the Black Panther Party. I was actually I was telling Zay I went to go talk to my great grandmother yesterday, and she was just telling me about how they used to really just protect the community. My grandma seen Oakland through her eyes and lens from the 50s, and she was just like, they used to have community turkey drives, do everything, schooling, and police our own communities, and we'll ride around, follow the cops, and make sure they police us correctly and treat us fairly. And
right.
yeah, I think we need to get back to something like that, man, because and put some of that money, like you said, back into education.
Right.
And just strip them of some money, definitely.
So, and what I'm working on right now too is so I'm working on this it's actually a podcast interviewing a whole bunch of different folks who, it's about the Oakland Police Department and history of misconduct, but something that's coming out, I think, next week with The Guardian that I wrote. I interviewed a whole bunch of Black male police officers in Oakland, most of which who are from Oakland, to talk about how it is being a Black officer from the city that you're patrolling. And the stories that they tell shine a whole nother light on, like, they experience discrimination from other officers who they work with inside of the force. So they get it from all sides. So then it's like, they get it from them, they get it from the police who say, like, y'all selling out, even being police officers. Like, it's a whole bunch of, and so I was just trying to better understand too. And pretty much all of them too were saying, like, look, I'm from, for example, this dude who's a deputy chief now, you might know him, LaRon Armstrong. He used to run like Oakland PAL and like
He
basketball.
was on Last Chance U.
Oh, I didn't even.
No, that was Shavies. That was Shavies.
Oh, Fred Shavies. But
yeah, Shavies is on Last Chance U.
Armstrong is from West Oakland. He graduated Mac.
Yeah, he was the police officer when I went to school there. Never mind. Yeah.
Got you. And so he was just talking about, like, I done had my door kicked in when I was a youth in Acorn at my grandma's house, when I was in Campbellville, all of these different things. And I know all of this. I became a police officer because I wanted to be that person from the community where, like, you would rather me pull you over or apprehend you or have to come in contact with you than any of these other folks. And so it's just interesting hearing all of these perspectives. But he was just saying, if you're familiar with the place that you serve and you understand, the community that you serve, then you're better off. I said that thing earlier about Idaho being 90% white because it's like, we was having this conversation in this context with them about policing and stuff. And they were saying, where you recruit officers from really matters too. Because if you have somebody who's not used to dealing with people in Oakland and everyday Oakland, one of us is able to see, like, oh, they're not serious, they just playing, and it's not something that requires police activity, or we able to see, like, they just talking, it's not whatever it may be, and get to better understand the culture and stuff here. So, but like I said, I could go down this wormhole because I've been in it. I'm working on it for this whole year, and so that could be a whole nother conversation in this.
Yeah, I know I'm excited to see this project. Is there any projects outside you're doing this with, around Oakland policing? Is there any projects in the future that you haven't even started yet that you want to do that come top of mind?
So one of them actually, and I guess this relates to sports period and what Mario was saying, was I really want to do. So I went to the Columbia Journalism School and did a program in documentary film. And so obviously right now doc film is kind of not going on as much as you normally would because you got COVID and you can't just be all up in somebody's house filming them and all this stuff all the time. But I really want to make a film about the decline of Black Americans in the sport of baseball, and looking at, like, when me and Demario was talking and he was just saying, looking at that picture and looking at our team, but then thinking that it was 10 other teams for Oakland Babe Ruth every Saturday and Sunday at Greenman Field, from every age group, from T-ball all the way up to 13 playing. And if you go there now, it's barely any teams. And it's not just Oakland. It's the same thing with Chicago's historic Little League baseball. It's the same thing with Harlem Little League. Like, it's less and less. And I mean, it's plenty of black people from the Dominican Republic and other places that are still playing. But I'm saying in America, in cities like Oakland and Chicago and St. Louis and Atlanta and all these places, the sport of baseball is just becoming less and less of us in it. And I want to just do a documentary.
I wonder why, man. I'm asking both of you guys why, because Zay's always looking at things through the lens as the business guy on the pod, and then you just gave your game. But I wonder why, because they get the most money. They got the guaranteed contracts. Why don't brothers continue playing more baseball, guys?
I mean, I can answer my opinion. It's crazy. I want to say, you know, rest in peace, Joe Morgan just passed. He went to McClymonds High School, and McClymonds High School doesn't have a baseball
Castlemont. He went to Castlemont.
Excuse me, Castlemont. And I meant McClymonds High School has, I think, historic baseball players, and they don't have a baseball team anymore. But I think it's one has to do, I think, with how baseball promotes their sport, and two, I think it's a longer path to get paid. Right? We just saw Kyler Murray. He was a top pick for the A's, but he was guaranteed $20 million as the top pick as in football. Right? And so I think it's more money to be made faster in other sports. And so I think in the community, you're like, okay, if I'm going to do a sport, what's cooler, what makes more money? So I think you look at basketball, you look at football. I mean, basketball, you do 1 year. I mean, you go overseas out of high school. Football is 3 years in college, you're there. I mean, I think the average rookie is 27 years old. I could be wrong. I think 27, 26. So I think it's a longer path to money.
Mm-hmm.
Tunde, before you give me your answer, I want to give you one more part to think of for your answer. Because I know one of the reasons why I stopped watching baseball, and like I said, we played when we was younger. It was central in my household. All my grandparents watch it. My grandma still is like 80-something. She still watches baseball. I haven't watched a full baseball game in at least 10-plus years. And I just wonder, why is that? And I was going to say, one of the reasons why I stopped watching baseball, and I know a lot of my friends and family members that stopped watching it, is the way they did Barry Bonds. Me personally, I didn't like the way they outed Barry Bonds. So I don't know if that's another factor as well. Do you think you can implement that into your answer?
It's a lot of questions.
I know. I know.
But I feel you. I think so. On one hand, I'll say I feel like it just used to be a bigger link between baseball and like black culture. And I say that, like, if you think about folks like Manny Ramirez and them, like, they used to be in G Unit's videos with 50 Cent. And you had, Pedro Martinez, you had even Ken Griffey Jr. and him having wingman and his shoes and stuff that everybody had Griffey's when we was even in high school. Even though we weren't playing baseball as much at that time. Like, and so you had these cultural icons that were getting these major endorsement deals that were seen out with hip-hop artists that were in the community of culture, and we could look to them and say, that's a baseball player. And then you just have a physical person that you could look to and aspire to be like because they were stars. Today, what Black American baseball stars really are there that you see in the commercials? You know what I'm saying? Like
Aaron Judge, is he black? Like, I don't even know no famous black baseball player.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The best player in baseball, crazy part, the best player in baseball, you can add, people don't even know, and he's Michael Trout. He's the Pat Mahomes of baseball, and you can add, white kids don't know who he is. Like, I know Pat Mahomes, and they don't know who Michael Trout is.
Also true. But I'm just saying, for us, for what we see, period, is just like, I think that's part of it. I think the other side of it, too, is just – this is where the community side of it comes to it. It's because of what's happening with Oakland. I'm just saying specifically like the decline of Oakland Babe Ruth, because of what's happening with rent prices, everything getting higher, and so many people having to move out to Antioch, to Pittsburgh, to Sac. Our youth population, I feel like, is also getting spread thinner, so there's less of a pool of kids who were born and raised in East Oakland to pull from and get involved in the sport at a young age, too. And I think that's part of just, like, specifically in Oakland what's also happening. And then I think the other side of it, too, is baseball – it's hella parts to it, but baseball is also a sport where you have to have a certain level of organization to play it and get good at it. Because like a pickup baseball game, you don't play pickup baseball. You could go to any park and play pickup basketball and get better at basketball every single day just on repetition of playing. You can get better at football playing sevens and doing things and just going to the park and doing that. But baseball, it's a different type of element. And like, you got 9 folks, you got to understand all this. And not every game, you got to understand the situations and things, but it's just like, it's one of those sports too, where it's just a lot of repetitions, a lot of organization into it, which makes it a little bit more difficult in having that. So it's like part culture. It's a whole bunch of things going through it. One of my friends who I went to school with, who I went to journalism school, he's like a 40-year-old. He's in his 40s. This black dude named Samori Benjamin is actually writing a book on this right now. And I don't know if I forget the title. It's not out yet, but it's something like what happened to blacks in baseball. And he talks about all of this stuff. So he's a real expert on it. But from a doc film standpoint, I just wanted to like highlight, like, look, and we all got this film, legendary film of Babe Ruth, the opening day parade, you know what I'm saying, marching from Concordia on 64th all the way down to Havens Court, Greenman Field on 66th, and all of these things. And it's just like, it was also just a cultural thing that happened. Even if you weren't playing baseball, folks from 66 Field would just come over because every weekend that's just what's happening in the baseball season. Like everybody coming together and being out there.
I got one more question because I got to run after this for you. And do you think it's just I think I like how you brought up, right, there's no one marketing baseball. I remember younger watching Nelly videos. He got the baseball bat, right, jerseys. There's a lot of different sports I think that have declined with I think African Americans in general, right? One is boxing, right? But I think, you got UFC picking up different people. Baseball's one. Do you think African Americans are picking up on different sports outside of basketball and football? Like I know I saw something like where track is actually like obviously black people have always run track, but even more than ever before is popular all over the country. Or do you think it's just a decline in sports in general? So I'm asking more like, are we going to different sports or is it just decline in general?
I would say it's the decline in sports in general, and I'll say this only because kids today just have way more distractions and way more things to get their attention than we did. Like right now, it's normal for kids as young as 9 years old to have an iPhone, so they got instant access to the internet. They got instant access to watch any video, even watching TV. They don't have to watch commercials. Anything they want to see, they stream it instantly. Like, and it's all instant gratification. So I think focus levels and all of that is actually like, if it's not a parent guardian in your life who's actually limiting that and making sure that you're doing these things, it's just way more competition for your attention and what you're getting interested in. I think that's part of it. But in terms of going to other sports, I don't know. I know I can only think about like what my nephews and stuff do. And coincidentally, my nephew is like, I want to run track. He actually doesn't really like that many other sports. So I'm like, I was kind of surprised when he said that too. I'm like, track? I mean, that's like.
I'm a data type of person, so I'm always Googling. I got to know the numbers, so that's why I brought that up. I saw it's increase in track runners.
Gotcha.
But no, I can't wait to see that documentary with just baseball and African American community because, like I said, I played baseball 5 years old. I stopped in high school, so I'm gonna play football. But no, I'm excited about all the projects you're doing, and especially having I want to call you a role model of Oakland that's not just playing ball or doing entertainment. So this is big, and I wish you the most luck going forward, bro. And thank you for coming on. I gotta go.
I got a couple more for my guy. I'm gonna hold it down.
No, this is great. All right, appreciate y'all, man.
You have a good one.
Thank you.
Good to meet you too.
Always, bro.
All right. Tunde, you still there?
Yes, sir.
All good, brother. Well, I was gonna say, I wanted to ask you when you brought up electronics, bro, and that whole instant gratification. Have you seen and how you were saying kids got instant access to the internet and everything right now? Have you seen on Netflix The Social Dilemma yet?
I watched part of it the other day. I was at Stanley House and it came up because I know exactly what you're talking about. They interviewed all of the former software engineers and marketing folks at these places. They held value because they were the ones who were telling you, like, look, it's crazy how your brains are being rewired right now and you don't even realize it. And also how everything comes back to marketing and that they're monitoring how long you spend watching this, what you click on, what you buy, and just feeding you more and more stuff based on tracking everything that you're doing also. So it's not just that they have the instant access to it, but it's also that targeted effort coming from companies now of that they want you to spend more and more time
on the
viewing
screen.
these advertisements and getting you to buy into these products because that's how they make money. So I gotta finish watching it though. But
it's creepy, man, because it's crazy because it definitely made me like want to put down my phone. It was like, man, I'm not big on. I got Siri off. I don't really mess with that whole Alexa shit. I be thinking that's all the feds and everything. But that right there, that social dilemma, yeah, it definitely kicked the social media game to me in a different way, and I didn't even think about it like that, man. I was like, damn, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So so far in your career, in your journalism career, Tunde, what's been your favorite piece so far? That you've done so far?
I mean, I think the one where I wrote for the Atlantic, and just because it was a personal piece and it was kind of talking about what I said earlier, like, and looking back, it was crazy. So I get a context to it. When I was on these shows and stuff in high school and going from the Ellen Show or ABC News in different places, I will always read through the comments of videos and stuff just to see what people were thinking. And one of the things that I often saw was folks who would look at the story and say, you know, here's a black kid from this environment who made it to the Ivy League thing. And they would say stuff like, this is proof racism doesn't exist. Like, black people are just, I promise you, say, black people are just lazy. If they wanted to work hard like him, they could. Or, see, there's no need for affirmative action. Stop making excuses and do this for yourself, whatever. But so when I wrote that piece for the Atlantic, I wrote it with these folks in mind and understanding, like, look, that's not what the story is. The story is, hey, it's crazy that me doing this is even newsworthy in the first place, but let's think about why that's the case. Yeah. It was something that was unexpected. So what does that mean? Like, y'all expect me not to, y'all didn't expect me to do this, so what did you expect me to do? Yeah. To, you know what I'm saying, to not do well in school, to the stereotypical outcomes for black men, to be in jail, in prison, or to be shot. And so I wrote about that, but I wrote about at the same time, like, look, my brother, when I went to Yale, was in prison, was watching that Ellen video from federal prison on a 4-year sentence, was, you know what I'm saying, was also shot on seminary some years prior and everything. And so it's one of those things too, where it's not just as simple as like, oh, work hard and all this. It's so many traps that's set up for us along the way. And people just, you know, try to ignore them and stuff, but it's just not the case. And
systemic, man. At the end of the day, it's systemic racism, man. Everything is so set up for us to fail, and they definitely, I definitely believe, you know, we gotta work 2 times harder just to get the same. You feel me? The same treatment.
And it's documented, like, and it's every step you turn. Like, I was the other day, and it's been quite common where people, I don't know if you've been seeing the things with real estate lending and getting your house appraised, but basically it was a biracial couple who lived in the house, black woman, white dude, and they had an appraiser come to the house. The black woman was there by herself, and she had pictures of their kids who, you know, are black presenting kids. They just light-skinned kids.
Biracial.
They gave her appraisal. They had an appraisal at the same house a week later, took down the pictures of the kids, and just had her white husband there, and the house was appraised at like $100,000 more. And it's the same exact house. Nothing had changed. So when people say, like, what is systemic racism? That's what systemic racism is. Your house gets appraised $100,000 higher just because you're a white person living in it. Nothing else has changed. Or for the same crime, black people are likely to get a sentence that's 2 times as long. Everything else held the same. So it's for the same exact crime and the same exact circumstances.
What about that redlining shit? I remember that blew my mind when I found that out. How they did us like that, and for the school, right. How you talked about it earlier for the feeder schools. You feel me? How they it's systemic, man. Even school wise, this shit is crazy.
It's
that blew
like
my mind too when I found that out about redlining.
Right. It's like redlining. They gonna box you in and give you the weakest loans and give you the lowest property values and outline where that's the case and tell folks not to buy there. But then they also gonna say public schools are funded by the property taxes in the area. And so in the city of Oakland, even in the Oakland Public School District, white kids who go to public school in the Rockridge area, their public school is going to be way better than ours because the property taxes and the values of the homes that I was just saying are appraised at a higher value there. are what's used to fund the school partially. And so if you go to school in Brookfield or somewhere where the property values are low, that's those taxes are being used to fund your school. So even within the public school system, how are you supposed to have an equal chance if literally y'all are not getting the same funding to do it? So then you're going to have older textbooks. You're going to have teachers who don't want to be there, who ain't going to be doing a good job because of it. You're going to have dilapidated schools. You just saw that at Mac, they in the past year, they had testing for a chemical that caused cancer. Right. And then it was crazy because dude who had just graduated from Mac and was playing that lane, he had died from cancer. I'm sorry I'm forgetting his name right now.
Ramon Sanders, I believe. I know exactly what you're talking about. I coached in the bowl game. We made an MVP honors award after his name and gave it to his family and everything. I definitely know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's everywhere around us, and it's like that's one of the things too about reading too. It's just like, of course, folks ain't just gonna say all the time, "Hey, like this is everything we doing wrong." People gonna have to research it, investigate it, and find out for themselves, and that's in the power of reading too. So that's why I was saying I got a whole bunch of like book recommendations and stuff because it's just like it's the more you learn, the more you realize it's a sick world that's around us.
What do you think is where's the state of our people right now? What do you think's next for us, man? I seen us tear up all the shit during the riots, and I got it, when we was rioting and everything, because man, we tired, man. We tired and frustrated. You didn't suppress people and oppress them for so long. Of course they'll get tired. That's a natural reaction. But what's next, man? Like we can't just keep doing that. We can't just keep tearing down our own communities and shit. Like what's our next step?
So I know this is like the golden question for real, but I feel a couple different ways about it. I think everybody has their own role to play, right? And so I don't think there's any one way right to do it. I think everybody has to be doing their part though. And so on one hand, I think it just needs to be I don't know if you want to call it a cultural awakening or what, but it needs to be a deeper understanding of our people of like, look, we got to understand, we have to just get a little bit more educated, and that's easier said than done, obviously, but we got to do a better job at educating ourselves and kind of depending on one another to understand the actual state around us and understanding the system that we're trapped in. Two, we have to like manage money. You have to manage our finances in a different way. It's I understand the lure of why we purchase things and spend money on things that we often don't need or can't afford, because in times before this, you weren't allowed to buy a house due to law. So the best thing you could do is buy a Cadillac to show your status of wealth. And that's been generationally, that's been what's been like trapped within us. But it's really just, we gotta really realize our people was brought here as slaves. Like that was our original purpose and the only reason why we were brought to this country. And so understanding that this is the case and this is how this country was founded, and realizing this country isn't gonna give us anything. Everything we've gotten, we had to work super hard for. Like you said, twice as hard is probably an understatement for folks who came from those times. But we have to work very hard for. We have to, and then even when we have it, we got to even work even harder to keep it. We have to, dodge the law. All these things in the process. And so, I say all that, and I'm being long-winded to say, understanding that nothing is going to come easy, and understanding that if we ever want to really get to this level of equality, whatever, we got to just start doing for self at the end of the day and start investing in one another, supporting one another's companies, buying the local clothing brand like it is a Gucci or a Louis, supporting our friends, artists, supporting our friends, our podcasts, our media outlets, all of those things, because we are a low percentage within this country, And so, and understanding that we need to kind of rely on each other to build each other up. Because
saying all that, how important do you think it is with saying all that? How do you think important it is for us this year to vote, man? And understanding like they can't just buy our vote this year, man. Like, We got to see something. I really want reparations, man. I feel like our people do. As long, I think this the last generation they ain't fucked with. We not going for that shit no more, and I think we definitely do something, man. What you think?
I mean, it's beyond past the time of reparations. It's crazy that even happened. You know what's really crazy to the story, and this is like a side note. You know the only people who ever got reparations for slavery in the United States were white people.
Okay.
And I say this because
the natives didn't get nothing.
I mean, they got not really. They got genocide wiped out, and then got some land. I mean, they got little land reservations and stuff, but you know, that's just nothing. Like it's all out of sight, out of mind, so the public doesn't have to deal with it. But white folks in, I don't know if it might have been Washington D.C. or somewhere close, basically, when they were trying to hold on to their slaves all the way up until emancipation, and when slavery became illegal 100% and they were actually liberating folks, those white folks got reparations, meaning the government paid them for the slaves that they were forced to release. That was the only form of reparations that's ever to come like in the country. And so it's just like the more stuff you learn about your history, the more you realize you gotta, like, you know what I'm saying? We understand and like this is not a game. Like this is really how it was founded and how it's always been, but it's also like that was 1865. Like, that's not that long ago. That's less than 150 years. I mean, that's like a little over 150 years now. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like it's right in our faces, and we just have to understand that that's really been the case. And so, like you said, in voting, one of the things about voting, voting in your local elections is really even more important than voting on the presidential level, especially for us being in California. We got this electoral college, and California is pretty much always going to go Democratic. And so for us, we need to really know, like, who was the DA, you know, who's the district attorney, who was the attorney general for the state, because those are the ones, who is the judge for the court that serves over our district, because those are the people at the end of the day who are making the individual decisions that are actually going to impact our lives. So, like, when it's the judges race,
still went for it. Time to change.